this is looking good. This is looking real good. I need to know if y'all can hear me. Real good. Hear me? If y'all can hear me, let me know. To make sure y'all can hear me before I get started. All right, let's see.
When we were young,
Alright, so this is live. I think the mic is working. Audio's looking good. You know, let me know if y'all can hear me clearly. If there's an echo, feedback, anything like that. You know what I mean? Just let me know. And I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Testing out this equipment that I got here. So let me go ahead and all right. Come on, family. All right, so the Black Av 1, Peace King. So you say you can hear me clearly. That's good. All right. So the audio's good. What about the video? Think y'all can hear and see me. All right, one more thing I want to know. Trying to figure out what y'all still doing up. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm still up. I'm about to go to bed in a few minutes, but I wanted to test this out and share some of your information with y'all real quick. Let me mute this tab. I don't want no background noise. Let's see. Okay, he said the video's good. Good looking out, fam. The Black Av 1. Thank you for jumping on the live stream and letting me know how the audio and video quality is. Glad that y'all still up with me for a few minutes. About to go in on something real quick, amongst other things that I got coming up for y'all. Just want to make sure this is good. I want to give y'all some good audio and good video quality, you know what I mean, before I start doing these vlogs and things like that. You know what I mean? So I just need y'all to verify that and qualify that everything is good. Let me get started. I'm just gonna wait real quick. Alright, if y'all can hear the typing really clear, and that's because the mic is right next to it. Alright, so y'all saying the video's good, the sound is good, y'all saying everything's in sync. So I'm gonna take y'all word for it. And alright, so let me know what y'all think about this. Give me a second. Okay. Just want to go ahead and preview some of that. Those are some graphics that I was playing with. So that way, when we do these sessions, they could be legit. And that's a 2017 intro and outro for y'all. All right. So I want to say shalom to the couple of people that's in the chat right now. So I want to say shalom to the Black Av 1. I want to say shalom to Issachar. I want to say shalom to my brother Silas that's out in there. Yehoshua Yisrael. I want to say shalom to you too. Disciples of the Way. Shalom to you. I want to give a shout out to Disciples of the Way because they featured my video on my YouTube channel about the Philistines. So shout out to Disciples of the Way for following my work and getting this information out to build up and edify the people, because I'm just a mere servant, a tool in the master's hand, and all praises goes to the Most High Yah. All right, and our ancestors that laid the path before we even got here. All right, we got to give them big ups to that, because in the scriptures, they gave props to their ancestors. You know what I mean? Their immediate ancestors. You know what I'm saying? So I'm giving props to the ancestors that came right before me, all the way back into the great ancestors of antiquity. You feel what I'm saying? The Most High used them to allow us to be here where we at today, and for us to wake up with this knowledge and information, so that way we can raise the frequency and consciousness in our people, starting first with our community. Okay? So this is just a test run. Shalom to Just Looking as well. So I'll make sure I want to get everybody real quick. All right. Looks like there's some buffering going on. I don't know what's up with that buffering. I don't know what's up with that. Just wait it out a second. Okay. All right. So y'all saying it's good. So I'm not even going to focus on what I'm looking at, because it looks like it's buffering my end, but I'm going to close that out so I won't get distracted. All right. And let me look to the camera and let me speak to the family. All right. Give me 1 second so I can see myself. All right. All right. So peace and shalom, Black Power. This is your brother Divine Prospect of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. And I just got some equipment to do some official live streams. I want to definitely ensure that I can give you guys some good quality audio, video, etc. That's why I'm streaming this in high def 1080p, running at 60 frames per second. All right, I'm using the Snowball Ice microphone as well. It's a great podcast microphone, instrument microphone, etc. So this way it's pulling in the audio, and the webcam is a Logitech C930E, and it's a business class webcam. And I wanted to get it because it gives you 1920 by 1080 and runs at 60p, 60 progressive frames per second. And I knew it was going to be good, but I was trying to test how can I get the full quality of this audio and video and transmute it into a format in the form of an encoder on YouTube, so that way I can give you guys the best quality. You feel me? So I worked it out. You know, I had a program that I used years ago, you know what I mean? But I just got the broadcaster version. And for those of you who want to try it yourselves, it's called the XSplit Broadcaster. So a lot of people know about XSplit because a lot of gamers use it, you know what I'm saying, to do their live streams and so forth. You can set up scenes like I just did and hit triggers, and they'll launch video or audio, pictures, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to get real fancy with it. But right now, this is just a test. It's 4:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, you know, those of you who are up right now, I don't know why y'all up if you're on the East Coast, but probably people can't sleep like me. You know, these are my prime time hours where I do a lot of my studying, my meditating, you know, my praying, my research, and all that other stuff, you know. And I don't do this stuff 24/7. Some people might think that I'm in a closet somewhere reading and studying and doing all that 24/7. No, I have a life. I have things that I have to take care of. And I don't study as much as I would like to. In the past maybe 30, 45 days, I haven't been studying as much as I would like to, because I have a lot of private things coming up that I'm taking care of as well. But it is what it is. I still give thanks to the Most High in the midst of it. It's all good. And I want to thank everybody for your support and so forth. So now, let's get into some fun stuff, right? I got a few minutes because I'm kind of tired, but I'm working on an apologetic series, okay? But I just want to let the family know that the website is coming up soon, and the website has a free and subscriber-based model. With the free model, it's mostly purely informational, give you updates, things of that nature. But the subscription model, you'll get access to the academy where you can click on the various video modules, and you can actually go through a course that I'm formulating for y'all. You'll get emailed the PDFs of the worksheet, so that way you can take the test along with the test videos, and you can advance in this Kingdom Harbinger Ministries Academy. And the purpose of this is to give you guys the information that I have. My objective as a teacher is to equip you with the tools that you can utilize so you can sculpt your own masterpiece, which is self. Most important thing is building character. And then after you can build self-character, then you can build your family, and then you can build your community. So the information is there to be transformational, right? But a lot of times you have to have a solid foundation in order to be effective, right? Or in order to increase the efficacy of whatever your intent and purposes is. All right. So apologetics is designed to defend your worldview, and you can do this with almost any worldview. If your worldview is that of a Moor, if your worldview is that of Islam, if your worldview is that of a Nuwabian, your worldview is that of Kemet, if your worldview is that as a Christian, because Christians is the one that coined that phrase. Everybody has a particular worldview that they're trying to defend, and at the very least, establish a degree of confidence in themselves and their familiarity of what it is that they teach and the square that they stand on, and how they convey that information unto others. Typically, apologists are people who defend their worldview. A polemist is somebody who attacks a worldview. All right, so being that I'm an RBG Hebrew Israelite, that's the term I like to coin, I have a unique worldview in the conscious community, okay? I'm a Hebrew Israelite as far as my spiritual system and as far as my stance in regards to identity, and RBG in regards to working with various black organizations in order to cross-exchange information, resources, knowledge, skills, etc. So that way I can take those tools and build my community and give it to them so they can build their community. It's only through that solidarity that we have any fighting chance in this day and time, because there's a lot going on, and for us to be disunified is crazy. And it's sad that when people see a brother who is exhibiting diplomacy, they have an issue with that, and that's crazy to me. That people can actually get mad because somebody's being diplomatic with the people that they see as their own brothers. Why should we have to rile up against our brother when that sister or brother does not have enough power to adversely affect your daily lifestyle? Why would you do that? That type of energy, raw, untapped energy, and that potential and exponentiality should be geared towards the oppressor. And even with our information, so I'm not going to take my information and try to destroy my brother and sister. I'm taking the information so that way I can edify them, so that we can see eye to eye, and then from there we can move forward. Because there's a lot of misconceptions in regards to the ideology that I subscribe to. So my objective is to try to find a way to sift through the confusion and be able to bring clarity from an academic perspective, because from that point then I could be proactive with my moves and doing different works in the community, things of that nature, teaching in in the realm of academia, going overseas and teaching as well. But the most important thing is building the community. The information has to be able to build a community. And if you go to the Kingdom Harvest Ministries channel, which y'all on right now, you can check out the whole host of videos that I have and the variety of content that's on there. You know, I'm not just sitting in a living room somewhere just talking on YouTube. I'm actually out there putting in work. You know, so if it's not nationwide and worldwide lectures, then it's me challenging academia. And if it's not me challenging academia, then it's me going out there and doing community work. And there's a lot of programs that's out there. I'm gonna give a lot of shout outs to a lot of other brothers and sisters that are putting in work in the community as well. You know, I have a particular disposition, but that disposition does not prevent me from working with another brother and sister who's conscious. You know what I'm saying? Because we all have a similar mission, you know, and that's the betterment of our community. You know, we may differ in regards to the numerator or the other differences that divide us, but ultimately, you know, we're still unified with a common denominator, and those are the things that we face day to day, regardless of what we claim to be. You feel what I'm saying? So I just wanted to give that little bit out because that was a little bit that was on my chest. I know you guys probably haven't seen a video in a while, but that's okay because I have a lot of stuff coming up. Trust me. Mostly beginning at the end of February, and this is only a test, right? So let me touch on something that I've been working on. There's a lot of things I've been working on, but because y'all decide that you want to be up at 4:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to share some information with y'all. I don't want to waste your time just babbling, rambling, just talking. All right. So what I've been doing recently, one of my many projects I've been working on, is trying to find common ground with other brothers and sisters in the conscious community. All right. I know that it can be a turnoff when brothers and sisters who are in the conscious community, and I say black conscious community because there's various types of conscious community, when they interface with the Hebrew Israelite community, and they feel that a lot of the things that we're teaching and conveying is very religiously dogmatic, okay? And because of such, it creates a wall, and that wall prevents them from communicating with us, okay? There are a lot of brothers and sisters in our community that are willing to sit down and build with other brothers and sisters, some that even have great reports with them, some that even are partner up with them and doing business with them. But then there's a section, you know, or sector that does not, okay? And that's because of their zeal. Their zeal does not allow them to, in their perception, compromise, all right? And I don't see that as a compromise, you know, but to each his own. That's what I was saying. But I've noticed that there's been some misconceptions in regards to the academic stance that some of us take in my community. So I've been looking at a book, and this is to my Nuwaubian brothers and sisters, all right? Because I have a lot of brothers and sisters who claim the Nuwaubian identity. I don't want to say religion. It is an ideology, but I don't want to say religion because they don't like that word religion, just like we don't like that word religion. So I'm going to say identity. And there was a book, or a series of books that was written by Dr. Malachi Z York that's called 360 Questions to Ask a Hebrew Israelite. And some of y'all might have that, and some of y'all might not. If y'all don't have it and y'all want it, let me know, and I can send it out to y'all. But I'm going to be doing a full discourse on that entire series of pamphlets, and I'm going to respond to almost every question one by one. But before I get started on that particular mission, I want to give y'all some insight on some of the content that is actually in that pamphlet. Now, I don't know how many people in the Hebrew Israelite community have read that front to back, but I have, and I'm very familiar with a lot of these questions. Now, there are several kinds of questions that's asked, right, to people who have what is secularly considered faith-based ideologies, okay? You have the modernists and you have the postmodernists, okay? So the modernist is concerned with the scientific aspect of the scriptures. They're concerned with the rationale or logical aspect of the scriptures, and they want answers along those lines. You know, they want it to make sense to them logically, scientifically, etc. All right. And then you have what's called the postmodernist. Postmodernist is concerned with the moral of the text. Okay, they have feelings in regards to how it makes them feel. All right. So this book is laden with both types of modernist and postmodernist questions. All right. And I understand that when Dr. Malachi Z York wrote the book, whether he wrote it, his assistants wrote it, whether he authored it and they wrote it, that's another story altogether. What I'm saying is the content of the text. When you read the preface and when you read the last piece towards the end, and I'm gonna see if I can post some of it up so y'all can see it. You see that he says he intends to write this so that way he can ensure that the people subscribing to this faith-based system is making the best decision, right? And subscribing to it and ensuring that they have answers. So I'm the type of person where I don't shy too much from questions that I get. I do my best to respond to it, and if I can't, I'll get back to you, right? I'm not afraid to admit that I don't know everything, right? Because I'm a student, and the moment you cease to be a student, you're no longer a teacher. At least to me, you're no longer a teacher, right? So in reading this, I see that the intentions are good, okay? But when the questions are posed and the answers are given, it seems very snobbish, right? And I guess that's because of his personal experience with these groups back during his day. This book was written in 1994. So 1994 was about, what, 23 years ago? You know, so that was a long time ago. And a lot has changed since then. So I say that to say I want to show you guys some parts of this book, all right? So before I do that, let me just let me see what y'all doing up here in this chat, and also let me know if the quality is still good. Okay, I don't want to shortchange y'all. All right, let me take a look. Let's see what's going on real quick. I just one didn't delete. Give me a second, fam. Give me 1 second. All right, let's see. Okay. Let's go back. Let's see if I can pull this stream up. All right. Okay. So still looking good. All right. Okay. So the audio precedes the video slightly, so they're not in sync like I thought it would be. It's like watching a martial arts film, but better. All right, that's cool. So I know where to set the delay at, so I can tweak it in the future. Or I could use the mic in the microphone. It's not going to be the best quality, but I'll tweak it to give you guys some better quality. All right. Okay. So while everything is still working, even though there's a slight delay that I apologize for, I'm still working it out. All right, let me go ahead. Jody said, is it pamphlets or a book? Well, I have the PDFs of it. So I'm not going to say it's a full-fledged book per se. Depends on how you define a book. A lot of Dr. Malachi Z York's books were really pamphlets by academic standards. All right. So I don't know whether to call it a book or a pamphlet, and I'm not gonna say it's a pamphlet and disrespect the Nuwabians who may say, "Oh, it's a book." So whether it's a book or a pamphlet, that's up for debate. That would be for you to decide. If you do want it and I email it to you, y'all have to decide for that. But for me personally, I'm more concerned with the content that's in it. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up. Let me do a screen share real quick. Hold on 1 second. Let me do a screen share real quick. Let me put this up. All right. So as y'all can see, my screen right now, I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick. You see where it says 360 questions to ask a Hebrew Israelite, right? It says part 1. Coming forth to you from the Holy Tabernacle Ministries for the rebirth, the elite few, the 144,000. I'd like to know, who is this 144,000? Being that I've studied Nuwabian doctrine and I have some brothers and sisters that's in the Nuwabian community, good brothers and sisters, I'm not here to bash the organization. That's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is respond to these questions and address the scholarship that's in here. There's a lot of faulty scholarship. There's some good scholarship and there's some faulty scholarship, right? The good scholarship I'll overlook. The faulty scholarship I have to address, right? Because it's only through me delving into the faulty scholarship and providing clarity that I can continue to build that bridge, right? But first I have to address it. And I realize that nobody in our community has done a comprehensive analysis and a comprehensive rebuttal or refutation to the information that is in this book. And a lot of these arguments are still being used today. And it's unfortunate, but once I get through it, they can't be used anymore once I get through it, right? So I'm going to show y'all some things in here, right? This is a PowerPoint. I just copied a couple of the pages, right, and threw it in the PowerPoint just so I can make a few points with y'all and go from there. But follow me, all right? All right, so just so you can see. Now also on the right side, you see where it says 1994 AD, what I teach and what we believe. So according to Dr. Malachi Z York, the foundation of the Nuwabian doctrine is located here in what's called the Holy Tabernacles, right? In the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, you have the Holy Tablets, which is this book right here on the right. And if you get this book, which I have, and I'll go into that another time, before I become a polemist, right, before I go and address their claims, have to first defend what was already thrown our way, right? So it says, what is the meaning of the Holy Tabernacle? What are the 19 commandments of creativity? What is the all? What are the principles of healthy living? What is the God concept? Find out the answers to all these questions and more. Find out today, right? And if you see the information there, it says a free will offering of $12. For more information, contact the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, P.O. Box 4490, Eatonton, Georgia 31024. And as we know, that is no longer in existence right there, right? But he says up front, if you look up front, he says, we believe in facts, no mercy, just facts. No apologies and all that other stuff, just facts. Well, we have to fact check to see if the facts that you're claiming to be facts, right, if they're mere assertions or if they can be substantiated, right? And if they can be substantiated, based on what foundation can it be substantiated? What can justify something or qualify something to be a fact, all right? So forgive my verbal acuity. I'm a little slow right now because I'm tired, but I'm going to get through this for y'all so those of you who's up right now can get a peek, because this video may not be available publicly once I'm done with it, all right? I haven't decided that yet. But let's keep watching, all right? Now, let's pay very close attention attention, very close attention, right, to the top left, right? I'm going to read it for y'all, okay? Top left says, the laws of Christ were argued in the Nicene Council in 325 AD, which was the birth of Christianity. Now, he says the laws of Christ. Somebody from the Nubian community, right, who is familiar with this work, has to tell me the laws of Christ. Qualify that statement and define what is the laws of Christ, okay? It says, were argued in the Nicene Council in 325 AD, which was the birth of Christianity. And that's not true, right? Nicene Council in 325 AD was not the birth of Christianity. Now, I'm not a Christian. I don't subscribe to Christianity, but I have to be objective in regards to the facts. Christianity itself was not born in 325 AD. Anybody that uses that argument will be laughed at in the realm of academia. All right? It was not created in 325 AD. What happened was there was discussion in regards to the Christology of the personage of the individual who they will call Christos, or the Christ. Okay? And for those of you out there who really want to know what occurred at the Council of Nicaea, so that way you won't misquote it and you will go strictly to the facts, is to get the transcript, right? There's a transcript of the council, and there's also a summarization or a summary of it, right? If anybody out there wants the summary that was actually scribed by the people that were part of this council, let me know and I'll make sure that you get it. But when you read the transcript, either the full transcript or at least the transcript of the summary of what was discussed, you'll see it had nothing to do with the creation of Christianity. They were dealing specifically with creeds and Christology. Had nothing to do with the birth of Christianity. Christianity came into effect when church fathers or Gentiles from the outside started to come into the Hebrew Israelite indigenous community. And when they came into this community, they already were Hellenized. So they were looking for philosophical things that were brand new. And when they came in and they saw this community and saw how they spoke well of their teacher, right, and the things and the customs that they had and the information that they shared amongst themselves, they wanted to take this information and create something out of it, something that they can philosophize about, right? And this is what Hellenization does. Hellenization is all about ecumenism, about everybody is one, right? So if you take that information, it's a good way to take it and to give it out to those exoterically, so that way they can adopt this new information and it can become a religion, right? It was not meant to be a religion. So Christianity was more concerned with the person that these followers were following after. They were very concerned with this individual, right? So the church fathers, right? You have three groups of church fathers, right? You have the contemporary church fathers, which were individuals that was alive around the time that the apostles were alive. You have what's called the apologetic church fathers, which is the generation that came right after them. And what they were trying to do was they were trying to refute a lot of the Gnosticism that was going on at the time. And then you have the anti-Nicene church fathers, the third generation after that, that was right before the Nicene Council and all the works and stuff that they wrote. I'll go into all of that in another video where I'll deal with church history. So that way you know who all of these people are, what they contributed, and how even before the Nicene Council, you already had a religion established, okay? So let's go back, focus to this, right? He says, at the Nicene Council, Judaism was made into a new group called Christians. Judaism was made into a new group called Christians. That is not true, right? But let's keep reading. King James I, now pay attention to this, family, and y'all reading this already. It says King James I used the version of the Bible put forth in 1526 AD by William Tyndale. There's some truth in that. Who was also known as William Shakespeare. That is absolutely false. There's no reference, academic peer-reviewed reference by an accredited scholar that will agree with that statement. That is false. And King James I had Shakespeare copy the Tyndale version of the Bible and put it forth in 1611 AD. All right, family. Now, William Tyndale preceded William Shakespeare. He lived before William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare came after William Tyndale. All right. So he's saying that these individuals are the same character. That is not correct. That is incorrect, family. But let's keep reading. It says the Bible, and put it forth in 1611 AD, calling it the King James Version of the Revised Bible. Revised Bible, okay, which was put into Old English with words like thou wilt, thither, and hither to appeal to the aristocrats who like the fancy English of Shakespearean literature and plays. This is absolutely false. If you guys know anything about the King James Bible, the purpose of it was created by the aristocracy class, you could say that, but it was made accessible to the layman in a language where it was not fully accessible before. Now you had the Pilgrim Bible, the Geneva Bible, the Tyndale Bible. You had all these other Bibles that preceded the King James Bible. And these were all attempts to make the Latin at the time, the Latin Bible, which was the Vulgate at the time, more accessible to the layman because of the Protestant Reformation that was taking place, where people were breaking away from, you had these fathers and these priests that were breaking away from the Roman Catholic Church, and they were taking their information after breaking away and learning the truth and going under the protection of these monarchs and giving the information to these monarchs. And these monarchs was like, well, we got to make this information available to the public. So before the monarchs were persuaded to do these things, you had learned men prior to them that spent their lifetime trying to make this information accessible to the layman. And William Tyndale is one of those individuals who strove his best to make the English available to the layman. So it wasn't the language of the aristocrats at the time. It was the language of the people at the time. Now, it wasn't common, right? Because the people did not speak in literature. Like, for example, I don't walk around speaking poetic. You know what I'm saying? I don't walk around speaking in prose, right? I speak colloquial language, right? But when something is composed by somebody who is intelligent in poetic form or in prose form, obviously laymen are not going to walk around speaking like that, but they can identify with the information if it's contemporary to them and if it's speaking about things that they can identify with. So again, these English versions of the Bible was designed to make the information in the Latin Vulgate accessible to the layman. Now, you had certain people like Stephanos, Beza, and all these other people who actually had their own Greek manuscripts, right? So you had some Greek manuscripts that were still floating around. But again, when I do my series on church history, I will explain all of this stuff for you. But suffice it to say that it was not designed just for the aristocrats who like fancy English of Shakespearean literature and plays. The two had no dealings with each other. So for a comment like that to be made goes to show that whoever's writing this up has an agenda, right? And it says, but by putting the Bible in Shakespearean English, they lost the laymen of Europe. So Europe went into a savage state. Okay, please qualify savage state. It says, thus the William Tyndale version of the Bible, which was being called the King James Version of the Bible or the Revised Version, was revised again in 1881 and 1885. Now, is he familiar with the Oxford and Cambridge versions of the King James Bible? I don't think so, because he would have to actually indicate those steps before you jump into some 1881 to 1885 AD. And now he says the rendering was the Revised Standard Version, which is the RSV. What I want y'all to do is get an RSV Bible, read the preface. And after you read the preface of the RSV Bible, see if it's connected to the King James Version of the Bible. I need y'all to do that, okay? And it says, which is the Bible that you follow and base your whole life on today. That's funny because I don't base my life on that today. Actually, I read the original manuscripts. So that doesn't really affect me. And the Bibles that I do read today have no basis on the RSV version. Now, the RSV version is a very popular version, an accepted version of the Bible. But it's not one that I myself personally use. My favorite Bible is interlinear Bibles. I love interlinear Bibles. And anybody that's getting into the language, and again, I'm going to have a series on this for y'all, helping y'all with the language, reading biblical Hebrew. I would advise you to get an interlinear Bible. Now, it may not make sense at first in English, but I'm telling you, after a while, you'll start to see trends in the language, and it'll help you to learn it. That helped me to learn the language, getting the interlinear Bible, okay? So I say that to say that I don't even use the RSV and I don't even use the King James. I use the King James or the KJV when speaking to people who are familiar with it, right? Because I don't want to miss their points and them to miss my points. So I'll use it for people that still are in it. I'm not saying, again, the KJV is a bad translation. All I'm saying is that it's not accurate in this day and time in some places, right? And you can actually do better translations in some places than what we find in the King James. And there's some places where the KJV is actually more accurate than a lot of the modern versions. Okay. Now let me qualify this, and I'm gonna move forward. Please, when you hear people say, "Oh, there's so many versions of the Bible," you gotta say to people, it's not the versions of the Bible your concern should be. It's the manuscripts that's used that the English version of the Bibles are translated from. Okay, that's very important. All right, but let's scroll through this. Let's keep going. All right. So go back and look up the RSV, read the preface, and see if it has any connection to the King James version of the Bible. And again, this is just me off the top of the dome, right? Just giving y'all a freestyle analysis of this right here. And this is in the preface part, right? Anything you see with the Roman numerals, like this right here, is mostly part of the preface that I've noticed, all right? Now, he goes into Genesis 1:1, and he has the Paleo Hebrew here, as you can see. You see the Paleo Hebrew here, right? And you see here the square script Hebrew, right? And he says it's the ancient script. That's another conversation altogether, right? Now, what I notice is that he doesn't deal with a lot of grammar, okay? So anybody who reads Hebrew that's reading this will see how he's translating. And it looks like, from what I'm looking at, it looks like he went into, and now I'm not saying he can't read Hebrew or he doesn't know Hebrew. I've seen a lot of Malachi Z York videos, and it seems like he does read Hebrew. But I'm looking here, and the way that he's explaining it, right, is really bad. I'm gonna go into it for you. And I've done videos on Bereshit 1:1. He should have said Bereshit, but he still used the word Genesis, right? Because they use the word Genesis because it's very conspiracy theory-esque. Oh, this is the beginning, and the oppressors had created this book, and they called it Genesis because it's their beginnings, and they teaching you. Don't fall for that. Please don't fall for that, right? It's Bereshit, and we say it's Bereshit because Bereshit has an actual meaning, okay? But when we read here, it says in the period of the bara. The text doesn't say in the period, right? There's no definite article in here. Now, if you was reading this, you see Beit Resh, Aleph, Shin, Yod, Tav, right? This is Bereshit, right? So Bereshit. So it doesn't say, there's no definite article. If there was a definite article, you would have a hey here that would precede the Resh. It's not a definite article. So this could either mean in beginning, and that word beginning is too philosophical, right? Because the Israelite people were very concrete individuals, and they related, the language is an expression of the culture, right? So their the way they were surmised the beginning of something, right, would be something concrete, right, and not abstract. So it would be like looking at the mountain, right? A mountain that had a ice cap at the top, and when the ice cap would melt due to climatization, and it would come down, it would stream down, the mountain would be the head of the landscape, right? Because it's the tallest peak along the landscape, right? And then you'll see something, a summit, which is a better word, the summit or the start of something would be at the top of the mountain, right? And that's why we have the resh there, because it indicates the head, right? So it's in a beginning or in a summit, right? Or in the start of something, right? Not the definitive start, because that's what the Hellenized mind wants to understand. What is the definitive start of something? But you'll see here, he translated this really bad, because he's putting English in place of Hebrew words, which goes to show, it seems like he's looking at a dictionary, a Hebrew dictionary, or Strong's, you know, because I'll show you. Hopefully, I'll make it through this. I don't want to make this too long, family, but I'm gonna show you that he's, at least in this book, he is not really diving into the grammar. He's not parsing anything. You don't see any kind of real techniques being utilized to open up and dissect the language, right, to see what's going on there, okay? He just puts in the beginning of the bara. What the heck is that in the beginning of the bara? Bara is a verb, right? In Hebrew, the verb precedes the noun, okay? Because the Hebrews of that time were very action-oriented, okay? They were concerned with what happened, okay? They were very relative to things that happened in their environment, and they were not that absolute, okay? So he says here, in the period of the bara, and then he says bara means the procreation, reconstruction. You get words like berit, right? Berit, bara, all of this has to do, like, for example, berit has to do with the covenant, right? But it's when you cut in between an offering, right, or a sacrifice, and you split it in two, and you pass through it. So rites of passage, you pass through it, and the blood that drips and you passing through the blood is indicative of your covenant with that deity that the sacrifice was made unto, right? So bara can mean the fat of something, right? The fat of that sacrifice. It can mean the splitting of that sacrifice, right? So it doesn't mean procreation or reconstruction. Reconstruction and procreation, bara does not imply that. So it goes to show that that the way that this is being parsed is really bad, okay? Then he has the word Elohim there, right? Now, I would have to ask, bara, is bara the verb, is it in plural or is it singular? And if it's plural singular, does the plural singular of that verb match up with the plurality or the singularity of that noun? Because we have something very interesting in Bereshit 1:1. And what that is that we have a noun that is singular, right? And if we look at the noun itself, it's he created, right? Because we know that if you leave a noun in its regular format, if it's bara, then it's in the cow stem, right? Because it has not been modified. But if we have it in its regular stem, it's masculine, okay? So if we have Elohim, Elohim being plural, masculine plural, bara being masculine singular, we have an anomaly there, right? But it's corrected by something called the majestic plural. And the majestic plural, which means that because the verb is singular and the noun is plural, that the noun is enhanced, right? In Hebrew, the rule should be that if you have a masculine singular noun, you should have a masculine singular verb. If you have a masculine plural noun, you should have a masculine plural verb. In this case, it's an anomaly. So he doesn't even address that anomaly. He doesn't even talk about the majestic plural, right? Now, I used to be a fan of the majestic plural. I am no longer a fan of the majestic plural, right? But that's another discussion altogether. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show y'all what he's doing here. Now, look at this. Look at this, family. Follow me. Right? And y'all can't, I think y'all can see my mouse moving. I'm not sure if y'all can see my mouse moving. And I don't even know if you can see it moving or not because I can't see the screen. But if you're look at where it says Genesis 1:1, and right underneath that you have the Paleo Hebrew. Then under that it says ancient script, and you have the square script Hebrew, right? It says here, Bereshit bara Elohim it. Now, he's not even dealing with it. It is Aleph Tav, and that is the direct object marker, okay? He's not even translating it anywhere in this. I don't know what kind of translation this is, but he's not even translating it there. And then he uses bara twice. Now, bara is only there one time in the actual sentence. Why is he using bara twice? Now, look at his translation. He says, in the period of the bara, procreation, reconstruction, Elohim, these beings, these, interesting. I don't see these there in the Hebrew, but I digress. bara, reconstructed, ha. Now, bara again is not there a second time. Bara is only there one time. Bara, and he's not even, and you cannot translate it, a direct object marker, which indicates the accusative. You can't really translate that in English because there's no need for it in English. But that's grammar, again, that I'm going to get another time. But suffice to say, bara is not there twice. It's there one time, and he's not even dealing with it. Bara ha shamayim, right? So I looked at this word shamayim, and I was trying to understand it for a long time. And the best way that I would say to translate that would be sky waters, okay? And when I get into the language, I'm going to help y'all understand why I say it means sky waters. But he says two skies there because in Hebrew you have what's called the dual plural form. And I'll go into that with y'all another time. But let's leave it at the two skies, sky waters, the heavens, right? Some people translate it as heavens. Heavens, then it says wa and wa ha eretz. So let's look at it in the Hebrew. It says it. Ha shamayim. Then you have wa it. So he says wa ha. It's not wa ha. You have the it there, the direct object marker. Wa it ha eretz, which means he has the word planet Earth. It should really means the earth itself or the land. You can translate it in a number of things you can do, or the dry place, right? I would like to say the dry place. But let me show you this real quick. And again, I don't know if you're willing to hang with me for another 15 minutes or so. I don't know. I can't see my screen. But the interesting thing is he then tries to give an explanation of what he gave, I guess was a translation. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a translation. I don't know if that's a translation with a transliteration. I don't know what the heck is going on there, but that is not proper Hebrew or proper English. It's a syntax of the two, but we're going to leave that alone. He says, during the procreation period, right? In Hebrew, pros means to motion forward. And the procreation period, and again, that pros, right? That prefix is nowhere here in the Hebrew, just so you know. During the procreation period, the Elohim Anunnaki, slow down, the Elohim Anunnaki. Now, this is a fallacy, right? And the fallacy is that a person borrows from the worldview, right, of a particular group of people, or borrows a term from one language and inserts that into the language or the culture of another group of people or literature that may have or may not have any prior knowledge of this information. And whether they do or they don't, that term Anunnaki is foreign to this text right here. You don't see this word Anunnaki there. So we have to deal with the text from the worldview of the authors, right? Not from our worldview. We have to deal with it from the worldview of the authors. So he says the Anunnaki. We have to take that out altogether. Take that all together because Anunnaki and the understanding of the Anunnaki, the worldview behind Anunnaki, the coinage of the phrase Anu, the sky's Anunnaki, has no bearing on this text. So let's remove that. Reconstructed two places up there in the skies where the water is and the planet Earth, right? This is what he's saying. It constructed. I say bara means to fatten or to fill. Some people say it means to create. I say it means to fatten or to fill. And I say that because since we don't have the definite article for in the beginning, I believe that substance was already there. And what the creator was doing was he was filling it with something, right? Now, there's some people that believe that the earth was here or something was here. It was destroyed and it was renovated, right? Some people believe that it was never here, but the material for its existence was, and the creator shaped, folded, and fashioned it. Now, I'm familiar with all of these particular theories on this. Again, my position is that the material was there and the creator just filled or fattened it. And this is why when we see him separating different parts, you know, the waters and the earth made it come out of the waters and the skies and so forth. He separated these things so he can fill it with things. Okay, so it can make a distinction between these realities. Okay, so he says reconstructed two places. Reconstructed is what the word he's using there, and I don't see reconstructed there, so that's him injecting reconstructed up there in the skies where the water is and the planet Earth is. All right. Now let's scroll down right underneath that. He says the right translation in the Aramaic Hebrew. I don't know what the Aramaic Hebrew is. I know what the Aramaic Hebrew is. I don't know what the Aramaic Hebrew by Dr. Malachi Z York. Mistranslation for King James 1611 AD. He says, in the beginning, in quotations, God created the heavens and the earth. Now look at this. He says the word God is composed of the initials of three Greek words which celebrate human attributes only. Family, that is false. I want you guys to go to etymologyonline.com, right? It's a website called Etymology Online. And I want you to type in the word God and see where it comes from. That's a Germanic word. It originally came from, remember, English is from the West Germanic family. It's a Germanic word. It is not a Greek word. So for somebody to tell you that the word God is a Greek word, that's false. You have the word theos, theou, different ways that the word God, the concept of God, is conveyed in Greek, and none of it is the word God. It's theos. But I digress. He says the word God is composed of the initials of three Greek words which celebrate human attributes only. Gomer, which means wisdom, Az or Uz, which means strength, and Dabar, which means beauty. Now the word Dabar, that's a Hebrew word, but I digress. He says it is made to look like a totally different word. In Genesis 27:20, they have Yahuwah, which translates as he who is who he is. And that right there is even a bad translation, because it goes to show that whoever is translating that does not understand the grammar behind Yod Hey Wav Hey. It's more of exist, right? To be, or more exist. To be is more like I would say English-esque in regards to literature. To be or not to be. No, it's more like the existing one, the one that exists without the assistance of anything else. So I just want y'all to see how off the dome now, tired as ever, how I'm able to dissect this and minutely examine every minuscule unit that he syntaxed to create these pages of this book, and be able to dissect it, right? And give you guys a freestyle dissertation on the errors that was made just by reading that alone. So many errors that was reading alone. So let's go over to the other screen, okay? I'm gonna deal with this other screen for y'all, all right? Which is on the right side. He has King James the First up there. He has 1566, 1625 AD. He has William Shakespeare and William Tyndale being the same person. Go back and research, fam. William Tyndale and William Shakespeare, they were not the same person. They lived in two different time periods. Tyndale preceded Shakespeare. Shakespeare had nothing to do with the King James Bible. So anybody that tells you that, ask them. Listen to me, family. This is the best way to get anybody who's using tricknology as scholarship. Ask them for their source. Cite a source. And when you say the word source, qualify what you mean by source. I want you to give me a academic, peer-reviewed article or book by an accredited scholar of that area of expertise, right? And I want you to give me a source from them, or from that, whatever that entity is, stating that it agrees with what it is that you're saying. Because for you to say that William Shakespeare and William Tyndale is the same person, what source backs that up? You don't have any source backing up. So therefore, it is a conspiracy theory. You're making like there was some kind of cahoots thing. Oh, we're going to do. It's a conspiracy theory. So that, I'm not even going to agree with that. That you can throw that out the window. Let's move down to where it says Ben Amin Carter, right? He then goes to say, it was foolish of their leader, Ben Amin Carter, to take his people into hostile Israel without knowledge of exactly what they were going to do once they got there. Now, remember he said, it was foolish of their leader. It says they should have known where they were going to live, how they were going to provide for their families, and their relationship to the so-called Jews. They took their sheep into the lion's den and are now suffering the consequences. If you go to Dimona, Israel, there's a thriving community there, not just in Dimona, Israel. They have other communities as well, such as in Ghana, thriving, doing well, doing much better than the Nubian nation here in America and abroad. They have, the Hebrew Israelite community has bigger real world communities, right, than the Nubian nation. And this is not a knock to the Nubian nation. They have a huge following, and they have a culture, right? And I respect that. But as far as like real community settlements and establishments in the U.S. and outside the U.S., the Hebrew Israelite community has the Nubian community beat in that regard. And I'm talking about statistics. This is something that can be measured. So I'm not just speaking relative or subjective. This can be measured, okay? So he's taking a shot at Benjamin Carter. And the reason why they're bringing it up is because for him to take a shot at Benjamin Carter, but the descendants of the followers of these leaders, Malachi Z York and Benjamin Carter, if we was to look at those two communities today, Benjamin Carter's community has a more real world community that is situated in America and abroad that is thriving, and it's a much bigger community than what you have with the Nubian nation, right? So I guess he didn't see this prospectively, and this is why he made this statement. But again, this is why you have to be slow to speak, quick to hear, right? And let's go down to the bottom section where it says, ask the Hebrew Israelites about language. It says, question number 9, ask the Hebrew Israelites, do they speak original Hebrew or Hebrew Yiddish languages in their everyday conversation? They would say Hebrew, but in actuality, they are speaking Yiddish. The Lashawan Chodesh, which he would have encountered when he, at this time in 1994, when he has interfaced with the Hebrew Israelites, or if any of his students interface with the Hebrew Israelites, for him to call that Yiddish goes to show that he does not understand dialects at all. Yiddish, yeah. Please, family, research these terms before throwing them out there. Lashawan Kodesh is not Yiddish at all. It's not Yiddish at all. Yiddish sounds more Germanic, because it is Germanic. And if you hear it, you'll hear how they say Bach and things of that nature. And I'll go into that. Matter of fact, I'll do a lesson on that sometime in the future, where I can actually show you guys what real Yiddish is, and I'll even get a Yiddish speaker that I will dialogue with, and you can see the comparison and contrast between what I say and what they say. Even though the script is similar, the way that you put the emphasis on the script in regards to the vernacular of your language is much different. So he says they will say Hebrew, but in actuality they are speaking Yiddish. It says if they say Hebrew, and I'm talking about the Negro converts, then ask them why do they still read from Roman and Greek translations into English of the Bible. Now, I don't know what manuscripts he's referring to or what versions he's referring to, but he says why do they still read from Roman and Greek translations into English of the Bible? So how about we go directly to the Greek? We won't deal with the Roman. That would be the Latin Vulgate. We will go to the Greek manuscripts themselves, whether it's the so-called New Testament Greek manuscripts or the Septuagint. We'll go into those, right? Or the Pentateuch. We go into those. Or we'll go into the Hebrew. And for the Hebrew or Aramaic, we will have the Tanakh versions. And then and for the so-called New Testament, we will have what's called the Peshitta, which is the Syriac, right? Which is still a sister script to Hebrew, right? And also sister language to Hebrew. Now, I say this because whenever you want to do a direct comparison in regards to the two books, right, whether that's the so-called Old Testament, so-called New Testament, and those are bad terms, but I say it because people are familiar with it, you have to use script and language that is similar or that correlates directly. Greek and Hebrew do not directly correlate, okay? But Syriac, the script, and the Hebrew script, they can directly correlate, okay? And you can transpose back and forth or juxtapose back and forth. So I say this because for him to make a statement there, I guess to his knowledge, they were reading from an English translation of Roman and Greek manuscripts. I think that's what he meant to say, but it's not clear. He says, also inform them that no true Israelite believes in the New Testament. I agree. I don't believe in the New Testament. I believe in the Brit Hadashah. That's what I agree to. And I believe, if you want to use the word believe, and want to say be lied, that's funny. But believe, I subscribe. I don't like the word believe. I subscribe to the reconstructed form of the Brit Hadashah, which has been missing because of so many things that have occurred in regards to what came into the compilation of the so-called New Testament, right? And this is a huge work that I've been working on for a long time. And the students of my Mechar study group sessions, they actually get a piece of that reconstruction and the work that I do behind that reconstruction, right? And I've made some of those sessions available to the public, okay? So for him to make a statement like that, to say no true Israelite believes in the New Testament, that is false. And anybody that says that to you, it is false. You'll have people that'll come out and say, well, the so-called New Testament was created by Greek writers. I have a third session that's coming up in that series where I will go into idioms. See, if I was creating a work purely in English, I would not have to borrow from another culture if it's purely in English, dealing with the English subject matter that an English speaking, hearing, and living audience would want to understand. I would not have to borrow from another worldview in order to make sense of the one that I'm trying to convey to people. Okay? Idioms. People say the Pizzo family wrote the Bible. Again, ask them for their source. Cite a source that the Pizzo family authored. I'm not talking about giving me fringe authors or people who are not accredited in academia. I'm talking about peer-reviewed, listen to the words, peer-reviewed, academic, accredited scholars of that field of expertise that you're speaking, whatever subject matter is. I want you to cite me sources from them. They're not going to be able to do that for the Pizzo family, saying the Greeks created the Bible or the New Testament. They're not going to be able to get anybody that officially agrees with that. You'll get a lot of fringe authors and fringe websites, but all of that stuff is their own conspiracy theories that they're reading into the text. So for him to make that statement, I am living proof that that is false. And anybody that knows me, know my studies, know that I'm well adept in Torah, know that I'm well adept in regards to the pre-exilic Hebrew Israelite culture, because that is my area of expertise that I love to study. But I also am very well endowed in the area of the Brit Hadashah. And the Brit Hadashah is a reconstructed form of what is called the New Testament through the lens of Torah and through the indigenous Israelite culture and people who spoke the Hebrew or the Aramaic, who lived it, who walked it, etc. So don't let nobody fool you to tell you that no true Israelite believes in the so-called New Testament, when there are people like me and others that are reconstructing the Brit Hadashah, or the original aspect of the text, to understand what it is. And the same work, might I add, is being done to the Tanakh. I'm doing the same work to the Tanakh by looking at history, looking at science, looking at archaeology and anthropology, all of these things, and sister cultures. All of these things and sister languages help me to reconstruct the Torah, because there are difficult places in the Torah that cannot be understood. And if you look at any so-called sage or any commentary, midrash, any commentary on the Torah, there are always difficult places there. But when you look at archaeology, if you look at anthropology, if you look through history, and if you look at sister cultures and sister texts like from Ugarit or Rosh Shamra, and look at the Ugaritic tablets, you'll see that it gives you a lot of additional information that helps you to make sense of what you're reading in the Hebrew text. So this is not just a work that I'm doing and others are doing with the so-called New Testament or Brit Hadashah. It's also being done with the Torah and the Tanakh. And it's a very deep, well-endowed study that you have to entrench yourself in and soak yourself in order to better understand. Apparently, the author of this book, which we will say is Dr. Malachi Z York, has not done that type of study to make that type of statement. And I'm sure in his time in 1994, that work was not being done by our community, but now it is, right? In 2017 and beyond. I've been doing this for a couple of years, a couple of years now, all right? He says, if they say that they can speak ancient Hebrew, ask them to go to the blackboard and write a full paragraph of it and take it and investigate it. You'll find out that they're lying. Family, I'm going to do that for you, and I'm going to do it so eloquently and so lovely. You're going to see that this is erroneous. And I don't think Malachi Z York, if he met me back in the day, and if I'm who I am today, by Yah's grace, if I was who I am today back then, because I was very young back then, but if I was an adult back then and I knew what I knew today, and he met me, I don't even think he would have wrote this book. I don't think he would have wrote this book, and that's not me being arrogant, that's not me having a big ego. That's me saying that I dedicate my life to studying this stuff so that way I can better equip, edify, and empower our community. And I'm only doing it on behalf of the Most High because he is using me as a tool to raise up a new generation that is really going to study the text for themselves, right? And not to be led by cultic gurus or cult gurus, okay? So you can go on my YouTube channel and see videos of me going into the Hebrew. It's crazy that the statement is made, but again, I think that was due to what's called hasty generalization. Excuse me. And hasty generalization is a logical fallacy when you rush to talk about a full group of people by using a small sample, right? That's called hasty generalization. You can look it up. It's a logical fallacy. And that's pretty much what he committed here, okay? And again, family, this is just the first slide, right? I have other slides. Well, I deal with these questions. I deal with ask the Hebrew Israelite, is astrology practiced in their synagogues or temples? No. He says, ask the Hebrew Israelites, do they use an Israelite calendar? He says they will answer, of course we do. Let me deal with this. I'm gonna deal with this for y'all. I'm gonna help y'all with this a little bit. I wanna deal with this, right? The astrology thing, people say that Bible is based off astrology. That's something totally different. But he says here, ask the Hebrew Israelites, do they use an Israelite calendar? He said, they will answer, of course we do. I will answer, yes, I do. And then question 58 says, then ask them what, and I'm on the right side, family. Then ask them, what are the names of the months in their calendar, right? He says, they will try to answer if you're lucky. This is what they should say. They will say the months are. Now look what he says, right? He says, Abib or Nisan, Ziv, Sivan, Tammuz, Ab, Elul, Etanim or Zire, Bul, Hislev, Tibet, Shebat, Adar, right? He says, but what they won't tell you is that the names of the months on this so-called Hebrew Israelite or Jewish calendar are of Babylonian origin, which proves that you are still following Babylonian traditions and customs even to this day. Throughout history, Babylonians described as some kind of sadistic and uncivilized city. Now, if you read 2 Kings 24:11, you'll find that that a Babylonian king named Nebuchadnezzar took Jerusalem from the Israelites. Also in 2 Kings 24:15, it tells you that a Babylonian king took Jeconiah, the king of Judah, and his whole family and took them into captivity in Babylon. It is clear from these quotes that the Babylonians had no respect for the temples of the Israelite God Yahweh or their customs or traditions. And the Babylonians' kingdoms go back long before the Israelite kingdoms were set up, as found in Genesis 10:10 and Genesis 11:9. So a true Hebrew Israelite could never follow a Babylonian calendar because to them, Babylon was the worst place on the planet. And that's actually not true, right? In a sense, it's not true. He says they use some of their traditions, compare the names of their so-called Hebrew Israelite months, Israelite Hebrew months to the Babylonian months. Now, family, there's only 4 names to 4 months in the so-called Hebrew Israelite reckoning of time, or what I call the menological cycle. Okay? Menos comes from menes, which means month in Greek. Logos is the speech, utterance, or study of months. And they had a reckoning of time in regards to months. And they labeled 4 months because these 4 months held the majority of their feasts and festivals. Everything in between and outside of that was reckoned for something totally different. And you got to understand this, family. There were several calendars that were working concurrently together, okay, and parallel together. You had the civil menological scheme. You had the sacerdotal or priesthood menological scheme, and you had the regnal menological scheme. That was all going on simultaneously, okay? And apparently, if Malachi Z York was alive and he saw my lecture, and I have a lecture, family, it's go to my YouTube channel, and my lecture deals with this specifically, okay? And I'm gonna read the rest of this, okay? Because I want you guys to really see what's going on here, and I'm gonna skip through some of it. There's a lot of stuff, but if you go do my lecture, it's called Cultural Liberation Through Research and Application, Series 1, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. And my lecture is entitled The Jubilee of B1 colon 14-18 colon dash 18, excuse me. Wow, I must be tired. Redeeming pre-exilic Israel's menological identity from the captivity of Babylon and others. Go back and watch that lecture. If you go back and watch that lecture, I destroy this right here. This is obliterated with that lecture. And I say obliterated not to be condescending, not to be disrespectful. I'm saying once you watch that series, you can X all of this out. You can X all of this out. This question can never come up again, directed from Nubians or the Hebrew Israelite community after you watch my lecture. All right? So go back and watch my lecture, family. All right? He has a list of Hebraic months on the left, which is incorrect because he's saying these are, I don't know how he's qualifying that these are Hebraic months. He'd have to show me how Adar is a indigenously Hebraic month before acculturation with the Babylonians. He'd have to qualify that. Kislev, he has to qualify that. He has to qualify all these things. I don't know how's he going to qualify. This is the Hebrew Israelite rendering of Babylonian names for the months, okay, which is written in cuneiform, okay. He says, as you can plainly see, the names of these months are the same. This proves that the Hebrew Israelites months originated from the Babylonian months. This is what he's saying. If you read the scriptures, let's keep reading. He says, ask the Hebrew Israelites, when did the Hebrew Israelites begin using the Babylonian calendar? They will not know how to answer this question. Family, go back and please watch that series that I quoted. He says, in the time prior to the Judite exile in Babylon, a lunar calendar was observed for religious purposes. The months were designated by number, except a few, namely Abib, Ziv, Bul, and Ethanim. After the Babylonian exile, they adopted the names of the Babylonian months. The present so-called Judite or Jewish calendar is not the original. The months are estimated according to the moon, and the years are calculated according to solar estimations. This calendar was supposedly introduced in 359 AD. The earlier calendar was observed from Babylon exile until the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem by the Romans. He says the months are estimated according to the moon and the years are calculated according to solar estimations. This calendar was supposedly introduced in 359 AD. Please, family, go back and research that. It says the months began with the new moon, which means that you believe in and practice astrology, which you say is paganistic practice. Okay. He is obviously confusing astrology and astronomy. All right. In the text, we utilize astronomy to determine time. That does not make you so-called paganistic. Even that word pagan means country dweller. That is a poor choice of words in regards to calling something a particular practice. Okay, that's what country dweller, literally country dwellers. All right. So he says you practice astrology. Now let me qualify. When you use astrology is the way that we know it today, that we use it today. When we talk about Venus and Mercury and all of that, when we talk about January, February, March, this is Greco-Roman astrology, right? This is Greco-Roman astrology. This is a form of divination from the Greco-Roman people of antiquity, okay? And astrology, let me tell you the different short definition. Astrology is when you look at the celestial bodies, right? Whether that's the planets, the moon, the sun, the stars, etc. And you determine that these bodies have an effect, whether it's positive or negative, an effect on human affairs here on the earth. And you're using these bodies as a form of divination to speak prospectively of these affairs that are occurring here on the earth. Astronomy, on the other hand, is analyzing the science behind how these celestial bodies orbit, how they deal with each other in regards to gravity, in regards to dark matter and dark energy, all right, in regards to their chemical makeup. It's analyzing these things because the sun, moon, and stars have an effect on the earth, right? For example, the moon itself, when it's a dark moon or full moon, because of its positioning between the earth and the sun, has a strong pull on tidal waves, right? Or on the oceans, right? Hence why, high tide is there when there's a full moon or when there's a dark moon, okay? I say that to say, when you examine the heavenly realm in regards to the sun, moon, and stars to determine time here on earth, that is not a form of astrology. That is a form of astronomy. Please research these terms and identify the difference. We do not use Greco-Roman divination when it comes to reckoning time. We utilize the celestial bodies to determine their effect on the earth, so that way we can have a measurable unit of time, which is very important, okay? Because time affects every human being and everything that happens here on this planet, all right? And the second law of thermodynamics, where you have other elements with time, goes to show that this is the case. So for him to make that type of statement is fallacious. And because you base your calendar on the solar and lunar year means that you are sun and moon worshipers as well. Qualify the word worshiper, please. Please, all right? Because we don't worship the sun, moon, and stars. We are grateful for these items that was put in place by the creator or the council. We are grateful for that. But in regards to us worshiping it, you'd have to qualify. Are we saying that it created us? Are we saying that it brought us to be? Are we say these things? I mean, what do you mean when you say worshipers, okay? Then it says these so-called paganistic rituals are mentioned in your holy scriptures called the Bible. Very snobbish. Your holy scriptures called the Bible, right? That's very condescending. It says places in the Bible where some of the names of the months can be found. He says Abib, which is indigenously Hebrew, Nisan, which is not, Ziv, Zivan, Tammuz, Elul, Bul, Tebet, Shabbat, excuse me. And he's giving references to these things. But, for example, Bul, Eftanim, Ziv, and Abib are the original indigenous pre-exilic Hebrew Israelite names for months. For the first and second month, for the seventh and eighth month. All right? The other ones were adopted as far as names are concerned after Babylonian captivity. Prior to that, they just had numbers that was attributed to them. Okay? And he says, and this is question 60, he says, ask the Hebrew Israelites, why did they name one of their months after a Sumerian deity? Why did they name one of their months after a Sumerian deity? I want you guys to look up and see if Tammuz is a Sumerian deity. Go into the Sumerian cuneiform, right, into the Sumerian text, and see if Tammuz is one of those deities. I want you to qualify him saying this, okay? Why did you name? If they adopted the name of a month from another culture, then they did not name the month that name. Do you see the logical fallacy in that? He goes on to say, the name Tammuz can be found in the ancient tablets called Tammuz and Ishtar in cuneiform. Tammuz is the name of an ancient Sumerian deity whose name is mentioned in the Akkadian tablets also. The Hebrew Israelites will mention the name Tammuz in their calendar as the 10th month. Yet most don't even know where it really came from, and those that do don't say because they know that they are worshiping the Sumerian and then later Babylonian deity. You can find it in Ezekiel 8:14. I'm going to show you how fallacious this is. If what he's saying here is true, now listen to this, family. He mentioned that the Israelites adopted this from the Babylonians. They adopted this. Now, he mentioned prior to this that they were taken into captivity by the Babylonians. The Babylonians desecrated Jerusalem and all that other stuff. So that means they were forcibly taken into captivity. And when they were in captivity for 70 years, they adopted or acculturated with their oppressors or with the people who took them into captivity. And when they left out and to rebuild their city, their walls, and their temple, they brought these traditions with them, which is the naming of months. If he's saying that that is paganistic rituals and that's worshiping deities, then that means that anybody in the Nubian community, right? And I'm not saying they all do, but in their everyday lives, any one of them that calls the first month January, if they consider the first month, second February, the word January comes from Janus. Janus was a Greco-Roman deity. All right, he was known to be the deity of beginnings, of renewals. So if you use in anything, if I see you go to the store and get a receipt and it has January on it, if I see you your kids going to school, coming back, and they have January written somewhere, if you have January written in your home, if you say the word January, then that means you're worshiping Janus. Even though you being a so-called black person got brought here to America against your will, got brought here into America, right? Some people say they're indigenous to America. It's different, but the ones that were brought into America, and they adopted this because it was what the oppressor gave them, and they were in a land that was not their own, and they adopted it. This was by circumstance, right? The situation was by circumstance that they were using the Gregorian calendar of their oppressor. It wasn't by choice. They didn't sit here and say, well, let me name the months for myself, and let me name it a name of a deity. No. So I don't want to see any Nubians using anything that has the Gregorian calendar on it, which was based off the Julian calendar. I don't want you to. I don't want you to use anything. And if Malachi Z York is documented and recorded for using any or doing any transaction that incorporated any of the Greco-Roman months that we know today, that is the Reformed Julian calendar called the Gregorian calendar, then he is automatically in the same violation that he is accusing the Hebrew Israelites of. Quite simply. That's it. All right. And I'm going to end off with that. But let me fast forward it. This right here is I don't know what's going on here. But I'm going to deal with this another time, right? But let's go into, I want to deal with bibliography. I'm going to deal with bibliography real quick so you guys can see his sources that he cited, okay? He has a book by Mikhail Asheri called Living Jewish, The Lore and Law of Being a Practicing Jew. He has by Clive Barrett, The Egyptian Gods and Goddesses, The Mythology and Beliefs of Ancient Egypt. He has from Brown Reek, Ronald and Joan Who's Who in the Bible, published by Bonanza Books, New York, and I actually have that book. He has by Lloyd M. Graham, Deceptions and Myths of the Bible, published by Bell Publishing Company. I have that book as well. He has a book by Jonathan David Publishers, Celebration, the Book of Jewish Festivals. Look where he's getting his sources from. All right. He has from Alan O. Counselor, People in Our World, right? He has from National Geographic Society, Great Religions of the World. He has from Zohaides, THD, Spiros, the Hebrew Greek Key Study Bible, King James Version. I actually have that. I had that Bible. I actually lost it, but I had that Bible. He has from Charles Caldwell, the Ryer, THD, PhD Study Bible, King James Version from the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago. Moody Bible Institute is a huge university in regards to theology, Christian theology, okay? He has the online Bible, Woodside Bible Fellowship, okay? Bible Dictionary, Almanacs, and Concordances, which he does not state which ones. He has Clark's Commentary, Adbingon Press, Nashville, 1824. He has Merrill C. Tenney, James I. Packer, White Jr., PhD, The Bible Almanac by Thomas Nelson, published. Thomas Nelson is a well-renowned publisher in regards to Christian material. And he has the New Unger's Bible Dictionary by Moody Press. Now, for a person that is going into the language, I don't see any lexicons here. For a person that's going into the language, he could have gotten language, history, and culture he could have got more academically based, objective material to base his findings on, right? His not just his findings, but his expose on. And these are, I mean, obviously outdated. For its time, they were kind of recent. But these, I would, if I was to create this type of dissertation, I wouldn't use none of these sources. I wouldn't use none of them, right? Because they are laden with opinions, especially commentary. Clark's commentary, laden with opinions. Study Bibles are laden with opinions, right? They do some exegesis, but they're also laden with opinions. The Hebrew Greek Key Study Bible is also laden with opinions based in their commentary. Okay, looking at deceptions and myths of the Bible and the law and law of being a practicing Jew. I mean, this stuff. I mean, I just gotta shake my head at these sources. You know, it may have been cutting edge at that time. I guess I don't know. You know, he shows the Bibles he used, and I mean, then he goes to the Quran. He only uses one Quran, right? Why would he need to use the Quran? I don't know. I mean, I think he actually used some of Quranic text in here. I guess that's the source he used. So at least he put that. Dictionary encyclopedias. He used Encyclopedia Judaica, which is a great encyclopedia. He used the Concordance of the Quran. He used the Comprehensive Etymological Dictionary of the English Language, which is decent for its time, but there's much better ones out now. And he used the Webster Encyclopedia of Dictionaries, New American Edition. These were his dictionaries, encyclopedias that he used. And he used the Webster's New World Dictionary. Again, I would have used better sources, but this is what he used. Additional readings, pay attention to this, family. I need you to look at this, right? This is where a lot of this stuff is, this interpretation is derived from. Additional readings, Millard A. and J. Chisholm, Early Civilization. Gods and Pharaohs by Harris Geraldine from Egyptian Mythology. Zachariah Stitchin, Genesis Revisited. Is modern science catching up with ancient knowledge? Zachariah Stitchin, The 12th Planet. Zachariah Stitchin, The Lost Realms, the 4th book of the Earth Chronicles. Zachariah Stitchin, When Time Began. And John Anthony West, Serpent in the Sky, The High Wisdom of Ancient Egypt. Family, his interpretations is based off of those additional readings. Those additional readings with the opinions and commentary of all the other sources that he put there, with the exception of the Bibles and Qurans he used, and the unlisted Bible dictionary, almanacs, and concordances that he didn't even lay out. So I don't know what was used in regards to that, but he just put it generically there. That does not tell us where your source is, and this is not good scholarship. You have to let us know every source that you use. Why are you hiding what Bible dictionary, almanacs, and concordance that you're using? Unless it's a shorthand version, but then you should have some footnotes there, you know, indicating that this is not comprehensive, and or it's abridged, but he didn't list that. But the additional readings is what you got to look out for, because this is where a lot of the doctrine against the Hebrew Israelite at that time that he was utilizing came from Zachariah Stitchin. All right, and I'm not making that up. Again, I have in my repertoire. I should just bring up for you, show you some of the books that I have. Written by Dr. Malachi Z York, and I'm very familiar with his works. I can go in and do a dissertation in each one of the books that I have. I have about 50 of his books that he wrote, about 50 of them, and I've went through all of them, and I can tell you there's so many fallacies in there. There's some good information, don't get me wrong. He has some good insightful information in there, whether it was from his own knowledge and wisdom, whether he got it from another source. He has some of that has some great information. And some of it is just fallacious. It's just fallacious, you know. And it's not a knock to him, because he was doing the best that he could for his community that he created at that time. But in 2017, I mean, unless somebody in the Nubian community has updated every one of his books, this is the foundation right now, okay? And we have to deal with the foundation. And as an apologist, I got to deal with the foundation. And again, this is just the abridged version, off the dome, freestyling while it's after 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm half asleep, going through this because I want to share this with you guys so you guys can see why I'm investing in better technology to give you guys better quality in regards to my upcoming dissertations, exposés, apologetics, etc. from the Hebrew Israelite perspective, family. Okay? So I'm going to show you just a few of the books that I have of Dr. Malachi Z York that I'm studying and I'm actually working through, okay? And then I'm going to give you some closing remarks, and then I'm going to sign off because I know I've been on here a little long. I can't even tell what time it is yet. Let me see. It's almost 6 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to end this off soon. But let me get back to this. So, family, hold on. I hope you heard that. Did y'all hear that? Oh man. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so I want to make sure you heard that. I couldn't tell the way this is set up. All right. So let me show you some of the materials that I have. I'm gonna go into my repertoire, my bank, and let me pull out. Where do I have his books at? Text. No, it's not a text. Books. Here we go. Dr. Malachi Z York. I'm gonna bring up something interesting. Let's bring up I'll bring up this. Nope, not that. That's not what I want. The People of the Sun. All right, I'm gonna show y'all this book, People of the Sun, and Nibiru, the Anunnaki. Right. Extraterrestrials and Creation. That was a fun book. Let me bring that up. I just want to show you some of these books, man. 9 Reasons to be Nubian. Simplify Arabic Grammar. That was actually a pretty good book. Did God create the devil? See, when you hear a lot of these postmodernist statements, and even some of these modernist statements, I mean, a lot of it came from this community and this type of research. So when you study it and you're able to dissect it, then you'll see that it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Okay. Oh, that didn't load up. Why didn't load up? Okay, well, whatever. I don't know why that's not loaded up. And let's do this one. All right, I'm gonna fit page. Fit page. Let's see. And all I'm saying to my Nubian family, I'm only doing this so that way I can better inform you guys of the research and scholarship of our community, that it has updated since that time in 1994. And if you can concede to the information that I'm putting out, it'll help us build better and to better understand us. All right. Let me do view on this one. Let's do that. I'm gonna go through some of these. I'm gonna show y'all some of these. All right, so you can see some of the things that I have. All right. So let me. All right. So as you can see here, this is People of the Sun, scroll 147. All right, and this is a very interesting book. Okay. The page that I'm really interested, he says, what is bestiality, right? Where did it come from? And again, reference to the Bible. And a lot of the science in here needs to be updated too. A lot of it was good for its time. You got access to a lot of good information, but some of it is not. Now let's read this. Who are the people of the sun? And do of the people of the sun need vitamins? Okay. People of the sun, anyone who by nature is born in tropical environments, inclusive of Mexico, the Caribbean, Hawaii, South America, Puerto Rico, Florida, etc. People of the sun are melaninite children bearing the gift of melanin from the Anunnaki in their genes. Sounds familiar. It says melanin can withstand exposure to heat up to 1,250 degrees Fahrenheit and still retain most of its properties. Well, can that happen with humans? I don't know any human that can withstand 1,250 degrees Fahrenheit. I know when I turn my oven on to 350 degrees, I'm not going to put my arm in there or hand in there. So I got melanin, so it ain't going to hurt me. I want to see him qualify this. A melanite child's body is like a conductive energy which enables electricity to flow through it, or like a battery, meaning it's always partially charged. The sun serves as an energy recharger for the melanite child. Mind you, family, I love science, and I could do a scientific dissertation on the statements that's made here as well. This is able to happen because of a process called resonance. So now he's saying that melanin has resonance. Okay. Resonance is the capacity to move back and forth at a certain rate in space and time. This resonance or rearrangement of the electrons causes the structures of these electrons to be able to hold as much energy as they vibrate back and forth within the pigment cell called the melanocyte, right? Melanocyte, excuse me. It says, do people of the sun need vitamins? Yes. However, as people of the sun, you don't naturally require the same amount or type of minerals and vitamins as Caucasians. As melanin is being produced, it is distributed within the organs of the body. With each step in production, certain nutritional components and particular minerals are required, including vitamin D, pyroxidine, copper, riboflavin, pantothenic acid, tyrosine, etc. If all of the essential enzymes, vitamins, and minerals are present, the pigment melanin is produced in considerable quantities. Caucasians who are lacking in an adequate amount of melanin now get injections of synthetic melanin to ward off infections and viruses. All right, he said there's also a pill, etc. Now, then he goes in to say, as the sun comes closer to the planet, they become less emotional. Therefore, Caucasians create these absurd new games, anything to raise his adrenaline and stimulate his emotions. What is the solar plexus? Is the seat of the literal fire located at the great lobe of the liver that's burning inside you and I. So you may hear some people in the community say a lot of these terms. You'll see exactly where it's coming from. Okay. He showed you the chakras right here. Goes into the chakras. Jesus pointing towards the solar plexus. Okay. He talks about spontaneous combustion, which is interesting. The Broca area and its functions, which has to do with language, right? He goes into the scriptures as always. He goes into Arabic, as you can see, because he went through those schools of thought as well. And this is a very interesting read. He also has a book here called The Nibiru and the Anunnaki, Fact or Fiction. And, this is very interesting read. I just want to show y'all just a few of the pages of this. He has Michael Jordan here and Mike Tyson. That's interesting. He has extraterrestrials and creation. And as you can see here, this is Nuwapu script that I'm also familiar with as well. And I'm learning this language. Right? Somebody was helping me with that information. And I have a lot of videos of it being taught. So I'm learning this language. Very interesting language. Learning this language. And it uses a lot of the matres lecciones in regards to the rendering of their vowels. Very interesting language, okay? You see extraterrestrials in creation. You see he has a black Messiah being crucified on the Ankh, symbol of the living Messiah, okay? He goes into the Orion star constellations. And so when you hear people talk about extraterrestrials and they're in, them intervening and creating mankind and so forth, you see where this information, it's not new information. You see who compiled this information, created it. Even when he was talking here about Charles Darwin, okay? And people talk about the Bible saying that time is only a 6,000 year span. And I say that's fallacious. Look up Usher, Bishop Usher, and his chronology. That's where that came from. I don't subscribe to that, but that's where that came from, okay? Again, there's so many things I could go into here in regards to the science and show you how a lot of it was good and some of it is false. He talks about the fungi here. This is interesting right here when he goes into the fungi. After the galactic battle between Nibiru and Tiamat. Now, mind you, Tiamat is a creature, right? In the Babylonian cosmogony stories, all right, that was torn apart, all right, severed and torn apart. And I go into this in my lecture, Cultural Liberation Through Research and Cultural Liberation Through Research and Application series, the Jubilee of B1:14-18, and I talk about Tiamat, and I explain to you the significance of Tiamat and explaining the cosmogony story. But he says there was a battle between the Nibiru and Tiamat, what happened to cause life to form on the planet Tiamat, Earth. Now he's saying Earth is Tiamat. It's interesting when you read the actual cosmogony story. And he's talking about the Anunnaki set up a base on Mars 450,000 years ago before coming to the planet Earth. And after the gold was mined, it was transported by way of smaller crafts that were half a mile by half a mile to these bases, then to the cylinder-shaped crafts that were 30 to 60 miles, parked on the dark side of the moon. Then it was transferred to Nibiru. There was also a laboratory called Shemitah on Mars, also called Lamu, meaning the deity of war. It is in this laboratory that they placed the first cell inside the dolphin from the planet Vulcan, now called Maldek, deity the dolphin. I'm gonna stop right there, family. I gotta stop right there. I gotta stop right there. Humans were created from. Then he goes into this dissertation about the Enuma Elish, which you'll see who Tiamat is in there, the Gilgamesh epics. Okay, he goes back into Darwin. He goes into this diagram right here, which was proved to be false. Okay, in regards to no, not the fetus stage, excuse me, but this being compared to amphibians and other animals, saying they had a similar origin, has proven to be false, and I'll get into that another time. But here he's just showing the developmental stages of the fetus, all right, which is cool. But he talks a lot about Darwin in a lot of these books as well. He mentions a lot about Darwin. He talks about the DNA and RNA, all right. Let's see, what else? Let me find something good in here. He says that humans were created from a substance that already had life in it. There was no saying proof in humans existed. If humans were created from a cell of a clot, then that clot had to have been here and contained life. If it is a clot of blood, as some Qurans translate, then it had a donor, a blood type, DNA, RNA, and chromosomes in it, as all blood does. And he goes into that, right? He says, here we have dust of the ground. Remember that there is life in the dust. Okay, people say that, clay has amino acids, and, that could be to the contribution to life here on Earth. But then you had a stage of abiogenesis, etc. That's some other science. But if you read through these books, you see he has some good information in science. But the problem is he applies science to this Anunnaki theorem. Okay, this Anunnaki theory of Nibiru and Tiamat and extraterrestrials, he's tying science to this. Now, for anybody to say that the Bible is pseudo, and anybody that follows the Bible that's pseudo, but they call this right knowledge, I have to say that you're being disingenuous and you're being hypocritical, right? Do not say about the station on Mars and transpermia. I don't want to hear this information and let you say that the worldview of the text of the Bible is fallacious and it's silly. And who believes that? But people believe Nibiru and Tiamat had a war, and Tiamat means Earth, and that there's a station on Mars. I mean, whether that's true or not, I'm saying it sounds spooky to people who've never heard this before, right? Just like people who will call the Bible a book of fairy tales and being spooky. It is a culture trying to explain its worldview from the knowledge that it had access to at the time. It was not designed to be a scientific treatise. It was designed to be a literary treatise based on the cultural dynamics, customs, and traditions and social memory of the people who established it, okay? But what I've done in my lecture that I did, does the Bible provide insight on the condition of blacks in America? I've actually taken science and I actually used science to get an understanding of what the authors were trying to convey with the lack of information that they had in their day and time. So what you can say is the work that I attempted at that time is similar to this type of work. But if somebody calls that pseudo, right, then this right here has to be pseudo. All right, this has to be pseudo. Not the scientific references, but how that is compared to the theory of the Anunnaki. All right, and I have a whole host of other books, but I'm gonna stop right there. Let me get back to this. Let me stop right there. All right. So again, family, I'm not here to ridicule. I'm not here to undermine. I'm not here to degrade. I'm not here to disrespect the Nuwaubian community. Dr. Malachi Z York, that's not the purpose of this freestyle dissertation. The purpose of this is to show you how the information that was stated in the material that I was dealing with is outdated, that needs to be addressed appropriately with updated scholarship and with a Hebrew Israelite ambassador from our community that can eloquently express our worldview from an apologetic perspective and be able to convey the truths from the culture to undermine the fallacious statements and attacks from polemists that are being conveyed in 2017 that need to be buried and need to be gone. Once I go through each and every question of that series of pamphlets or books, there will be no need for it again, and a new discussion will have to arise between the Nuwaubian community and the Hebrew Israelite community. So that way, once we can get aside certain differences and better understand each other, then we can work towards a common goal, which is to form a revolution by cross-exchanging resources, a knowledge-based IP, and we can work together to be unified. That does not mean that we're going to have the same forms of worship. That does not mean we're going to have the same customs and culture and tradition, but we can partner up just like the EU does, just like the UN does, and we can work concurrently together to exchange these resources to ensure that we have a much tighter knit connection with one another, so that way we can prevent the oppressor from undermining us, infiltrating us through the strategies and techniques of COINTELPRO and pitting us against each other. All right, so that book, once I'm done with it, will have to be retired, and a new discussion will have to arise, and somebody will have to generate new questions that will need to be addressed. Okay, so again, family, this really was just a test run. It's just me freestyling and me just dealing with stuff while I'm half tired at 6:14 in the morning. But I just want you to get you guys get a taste of the new equipment that I have and some of the new studies that I'm delving into, and things that I'm doing just to clear up a lot of misconceptions so that communities can work better together in unison. Okay, and we need to pretty much update our scholarship. All right, and we need to be less biased in regards to our scholarship. All right, so thank you, family, for watching. It's 6:15. I want to wish everybody well. I hope everybody, if you're just waking up now, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. If you're about to go to bed like I am and take a nap to start the rest of your day, I want to say Layla Tov to y'all, and those who are waking up, Boker Tov to y'all. Good morning, peace, shalom to the family. I love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And again, this is all in the sake of unity, good scholarship, so we can be pro-activists and we can motion towards activism instead of being reactionaries. A lot of us are very sensitive. All right, we have not really tapped into our masculine energy to have discipline over ourselves, right? And as men, when you tap into that masculine energy to have power and control over self, you have more strength than a city with a huge fort. If you can master self, if you can prevent yourself from getting angry or upset when people yell at you, disrespect you, and just deal with them intellectually. All right, and deal with them tactfully and respectfully, even in the midst of how they come at you. It goes to show how far you've come along with your character. All right, so I want to say, family, I love you. Thank you for watching. Shalom, peace, Black Power, family. Until I see you again. Peace.